As several people have said to me this morning, today is very similar to the day 5 years ago when September 11th happened to all of us. And none of us will ever forget, number one, the weather, because it was a day very much like this. Sunny, beautiful, clear sky, like nothing could go wrong in the world. But it did. And I don't think any of us that are here will forget where we were that day. I know I was just walking up the steps of Shaker High School to attend a meeting when I was stopped by one of the fellow committee people that was going in too, and said, "I've just been in there and something very tragically has happened." And with that I came back to Town Hall, and the news, of course, certainly spread very fast. And the days that followed certainly were ones of great anxiety and sadness and disappointment, and an unrealistic feeling that something like this could happen to us in the United States of America. So today, 5 years ago, and it doesn't seem like it's been 5 years. It seems like it could be yesterday. But we still remember, we still want to honor, we still never want to forget what happened that day. And to the men and women, the ones that were the victims, the innocent people that tragically lost their lives. But then to those in the emergency services, whether it be fire or police or EMS, that went and risked their lives to try to help those that were the victims. And so we continue each year to want to remember that day and to take a lesson from that day and what we can do to make life easier and safer and more secure for the little ones that are going to be growing up in this world. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Jan Wiseman, Vice of the Congregation of Beth Emmet. And Jan is here today to share a few words with us. Jan?
Thank you very much. On this day of remembrance and solemn observation, I offer this prayer. God of the ages, before your eyes all empires rise and fall, yet you are changeless. Be near us in this age of terror and in these moments of remembrance. Uphold those who work and watch and wait and weep and love. By your Spirit, give rise in us to broad sympathy for all the peoples of your earth. Strengthen us to comfort those who mourn and work in large ways and small for those that make for peace. Bless the people and leaders of this nation and all nations, so that warfare, like slavery before it, may become only a historic memory. On September 11th, 2001, we saw a profound change in how we view mankind as we witnessed the worst in man, with the devastation brought on humans by humans, and we also witnessed the best in man, with the outpouring of aid and love by humans to humans. May we find a way to channel the best in man through Town alum every day. Thank you for the privilege of being with you this morning, and it is with heartfelt thanks to each of you who were at Ground Zero for your selfless acts of human kindness. Thank you very much.
That I would like to introduce to you the minister from Our Savior's Lutheran Church, Pastor Ken Cobb.
Thank you to the Town of Colonie, to Mary and all those who are here today. It's a real honor for me to represent the church that certainly prays for you gentlemen in blue and your ladies in blue, and thanks God daily for the comfort and security that we have because of you. You know, when I think about September 11th, I think of how you demonstrated the heart and soul of the Constitution of the United States of America. Sometimes amidst all the talk of individual rights today, and I thank God for the defense of those rights by our Constitution, but we sometimes forget, or at least fail to express the nature and the philosophy behind that Constitution, the heart of our founding fathers, was for the common good, which you rescue workers, all of you that were there on September 11th in 2001, and you who continue to serve the common good, even at the cost of your own lives sometimes. It's my privilege also this morning to introduce Jack Bevlakwa, who was there at 9/11.
Thank you very much. Hi, my name is Jack Bevlakwa. I'm an Assistant Chief with Colonie, Mass, Assistant Chief with Midway Fire Department. I have 26 years of emergency services to this town. I actually responded to Ground Zero on Thursday the 13th as part of the regional response team for New York State. On the first days, what really happened is we did multiple tours. I myself did 2 tours of 5 days each. I was either working on the pile, as we call it, or I was a shift commander. As I was talking with Kevin, who's going to be our next presenter, we started to reflect back, and trying to put this into a short speech is very hard because there's a lot of emotions going on, a lot of stories, a lot of learning, a lot of love that went on. As we talked, we thought about this. This is my generation's Pearl Harbor. Everything that you remember, that day, the perfect day, what was happening, where you were, is very vivid right now. Unlike the first group, when I went down, I had some time to prepare, to digest really what was going on in the world. Kevin, when he was talking about it, they didn't really have a clue what was going on. They just, by 10 o'clock, they were on the road going down to New York to help our fellow brothers. I had time to reflect on the global implications of what was actually going on. On the ride down, we had a nice little Greyhound bus going down to New York State provided. The atmosphere was loose. We were excited because we were ready. We had been trained. We went through a lot of training, a lot of courses we went through. So I thought we were prepared. Once we got to Tappan Zee, you could actually see the skyline, or what used to be the skyline. You saw a little bit of smoke. It was a little bit dark and hazy. All of a sudden, the tone became very quiet. When we went down Route 17 through Jersey, and then we came out through the Lincoln Tunnel, everything became very quiet. The realization of what was happening was real. What we were seeing on TV had no justification for the feeling that we have, or the atmosphere that is actually going on. We were about to start looking for our fellow brothers, the people who had trained us. My first exposure, this is the most dramatic thing that I remember. As we went through a building. I don't even know what building it was. It was on the West Side Highway. We had to walk through the building. Everything was dark, and then you had to walk through a set of windows. They took the windows out, and then you walked onto the pile. Little did I know that pile was the second floor windows going out. There was debris everywhere. As I said, everybody was working like Army ants. There was an eerie feeling because it was the night shift that I started. It was cool, it was dark, it was damp, and it had a roll of thunder in the air, and lightning went on every now and then. It was very, very eerie. I was actually set back for a minute or two standing into the walkway. It could have been even longer for all that I know. And then I thought, this can't be real. How could this have happened? I would soon find out how real this was. One of the adventures, once we got assigned, we went out to the pile, what we would call the valley. This is actually the base of the towers where we'd start doing searching and void search. To get over there, it was probably a half a block to a block walk, but you weren't walking on the ground. You were walking over rebarb, girders, and what I found out just outside that building where we entered, we're actually walking on one of the ladder trucks that had we couldn't even tell because it was covered with as we got over to that valley after a 30-45 minute walk, you would look up, and it was straight up. All you could see was 5 stories of rubble. Girders, twisted metal, electrical cord, everything was just upon you. And as you looked up, you hear the tink, tink, ting of objects falling down. This is a very scary thing. How stable was this? What were we putting our lives for? We were putting our lives for our brothers, our comrade in arms who had fallen. I'd like to now introduce Kevin Terry, who's going to talk about the effects on the emergency rescuers from the 9/11.
Thank you, Jack. Good morning, everyone. One of the things that I wanted to focus on this morning in my few minutes up here with you is how the world has changed both after September 11th and all the effects that took place on that fateful day. When we were, shortly after we returned from our response down there, I was doing some research. I looked in a 1993 Fire Engineering magazine. That was a special report from the bombing terrorist incident that occurred at the trade towers. And reading through that, the site security personnel for the Port Authority had written in that the 93 event was the worst case scenario for that complex. I think that's how we, as Americans, we sort of thought as well, that we could not envision an incident of the magnitude that happened on September 11th. Captain John Vigiano was one of the most highly decorated captains in the New York City Fire Department, retired out of 176 truck in Brooklyn. Had two sons. One of them was a highly decorated detective in the Emergency Services Unit in the New York City Police Department. The other was a highly decorated firefighter in 132 truck in East New York. That day, Captain Vigiano lost both his sons at the World Trade Center disaster. Firefighter Joseph Angelini was one of the oldest currently working FDNY members. He was 64 years old on September 11th. Worked in Rescue Company 1, which is one of the busiest rescues. Worked Midtown Manhattan. About 8 blocks away, his son, Joseph Angelini Jr., was working as a firefighter on Ladder Company 4. Both of them were killed September 11th at the same incident. Captain Timothy Stackpole, on June 5th, 1998, was horrifically burned in a multiple alarm fire in East New York, in Brooklyn. Went 66 days in the burn center. Took him 2 years of rehabilitation to come back to the job. Could have easily retired, went out on a disability. He wanted to come back. Came back to the job in 2000, was promoted to captain on September 6th, 2001. First tour as a captain in Ladder Company 103, was killed September 11th. Captain Terry Hatton, Rescue Company 1, Midtown Manhattan. 19 citations as a firefighter. One of the current firefighters that had the highest number of accommodations by the city. His wife was Beth Patrone Hatton, who happened to be Mayor Giuliani's executive assistant. Captain Hatton was killed September 11th. Beth found out the next day that she was pregnant with her first child. Last but not least, Police Officer John Perry of New York City Police Department. Police Officer Perry went to school while he was in his 12 years as a police officer, got his law degree, became a lawyer, decided he was going to go and become a medical malpractice attorney. The morning of September 11th, he was at One Police Plaza filing his retirement paperwork. Heard of the incident, put his uniform back on, responded down to the scene, was killed at the scene. Some of those things I don't think we could come up with. I don't think the wildest thoughts of writers or producers would be able to come up with some of those stories, and how ironic that they were. Oliver Stone has come out with a movie that is out now. My wife Jill and I had the opportunity yesterday to actually meet Sergeant John McLaughlin and Port Authority Police Officer Will Jimeno, which are mentioned, or that's the story is written about them in the World Trade Center movie that Oliver Stone has out now. They spoke yesterday at a memorial service down at 7 World Trade Center, and one of the most humble guys I've ever met. We took an elevator ride with Officer Jimeno, and he was thanking me for going there, and this guy laid in the pile for 24 hours. As I conclude, we lost nearly 3,000 people that day. 343 New York City firefighters, 23 NYPD officers, and 37 Port Authority police officers. The calling for our generation after that day was never forget. Everywhere you looked was never forget, and we all vowed to never forget. Today, on the 5th anniversary, I ask all of you to let's renew our vow and let's make sure we never forget. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Jack and to Kevin, and really the rest of us can stand up here and we can say all those nice things, but it's people like Jack and Kevin who were really, they were there and actually witnessed what the experience was like, and to hear the names of people and who they were and what they were doing certainly brings home what a terrible, terrible incident that was. Going to have a coordinated sound at 8:46, Carl? This is 8:46. If we could all stand now for a moment of silence. Okay, thank you all very much. With that, I would like to bring back Camille Allen, who's going to sing America the Beautiful, and I think we could all join in with her. Camille?
Oh, beautiful, for spacious skies, for amber waves of green, for purple mountains' majesty, above the fruited plains. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea.
Thank you very much, Camille, and that concludes our brief, but I think very poignant service. And I thank again each and every one of you for coming this morning. I know it's a work day. It's right at the beginning of the day, and it's a great effort for you to have to be here. But I know that you want to be here. And again, I thank you, and God bless America. Thank you.